Oh. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. The agenda, any issues with the agenda? Agenda is just one item.
Chair, I move we accept the agenda as presented.
Second it. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay, agenda is ready. All right. Is anybody here for public comments? Ian, I think you're the only one who qualifies as public right now, so. Okay. All right. With that, Mighty Tim, the floor is yours.
All right, so,
Did George get this? Does she know?
Yeah, she said she probably wasn't gonna come.
I would like to move ahead on to group C, if you don't mind, and start there. And, but first, a little bit of housekeeping, because we have some concerns about, we gotta do a pre-construction meeting and like who's in charge, who's on the ground, nobody's Roger. And, some of the concerns we had in our discussion about approving these was how much human resources they had, to fulfill. And, because there's another round of these coming up, and we want to make sure that they hit the deadline of November 15th. We want to make sure that they know who's in charge, that they have their insurance in order. The one thing is, and I had a conversation with one of the bidders today, that the gravel that we're expecting, that they have access to it, and they understand that they just can't pull it from their own typical pit. And, it went really well. They said, oh, no, we know we gotta buy it from here. And so,
So Tim,
Yeah.
is this half or how many?
oh, it's roughly half.
So this is the first 5 groups. There's a second 5 groups of roads that are published right now for bids that are due on Monday, September 25th.
And I think this will be the pricier group.
The more significant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because it has Johnson and Gee Hill.
Right.
Okay.
But it's still, it's not trivial.
No.
Right.
So, if Ian, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call on you, soon, but, North Road excavation, and if we can look at road group C is Johnson Hill and, Johnson Hill side by side, and 2 people bid on it, North Road excavation.
Can I butt in a
Illinois,
second?
Yeah.
Just, North Road is Dylan McCoy,
Bill
McCullough.
McCullough.
Matil McCullough. Okay.
So he actually called me today, because I know they have their own pit, and I wanna make sure that they're using what we spec. And, I also got a insurance, list from Rita, and they were not up to date, so, our recommendation, is to go with North Road excavation on Johnson Hill, and, more on that in a bit. The other thing is that, he assured me that, he has secured, trucking for materials, subcontracting the trucking, and, where he's gonna secure his materials from, and, that they have the bodies to do the work. And, very confident they can do it, and if we wanted to, we could get all sorts of, letters of recommendation. I don't think we need to. The first thing we did was make sure everybody who bid can do the job.
It's qualified.
So, L&M, as you can see, has been on a lot of other stuff, and we also have some more concerns that we want to make sure that they have the human resources to be able to deploy. We don't want to overwhelm any one person or company. And the other thing we'd like to do is to, and they'll understand this, if they're awarded more than one, we prioritize what happens first.
Do we, are these people bonded?
That's a good question. I do not know.
We did not require a bond.
Do we have a penalty clause if people can't keep up with what they've said they would do?
Not to my knowledge.
We haven't done
Yeah, there are no liquidated damages associated or listed. I had asked that about, when we met at one time and, just because everybody we generally work with, they're all residents and taxpayers and they all get it. And, at the same, we could have gone either way. We didn't want to just detract any bidders by requiring the bonds, but at the same point, like, most of them, I'm not expecting any of these guys to walk on any of these contracts.
Okay, thank you. That,
But
works.
it is a thought, and that was part of the calculus.
I mean, it's easy to bid and say, don't worry, and
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
penalty and,
Yeah, the only one that we didn't know have strong town and life experience with was down here in Group J, right?
Yeah.
Isaac.
Yeah.
Isaac.
Right.
Yeah, the others.
L and M has connection.
Yes,
Right.
Ian McKenzie used to work for him,
Oh, really? Okay.
so, you know,
But they're also, Jerry, even though we're looking at a bid price, as they actually do the work, it'll be paid on time and material. So what they're actually putting in, they'll invoice. Roger will make sure that they're doing the work that they're
Yeah.
saying, and then they'll send us an invoice. So worst case scenario, if somebody says, actually, I can't do that, we're out the time. But there's no real harm.
Well, except
Perfect.
then you have angry people coming.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, the reality, yeah, good point.
Um,
And that is,
And are we thinking about school bus routes in particular when weather's
Yeah,
bad?
all of that.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and traffic control was a major discussion, how it's going to be done, how it's gonna be, and it's one of the things Tim brought up, was real important, he said kind of quietly, was we get to say, if you get more than one, what your order and what your priorities are.
Mm.
And so we get to make sure that, those things that we need, those routes, for whatever reason, to include school bus, to include prep, we get to make sure that
Good.
those are concentrated first.
Good.
Go ahead.
So the reason I wanted to do group C and group G first, if you don't mind, is our recommendation is to go with North Road Excavation on Johnson Hill. They're also, pretty local to that spot. It's their neck of the woods and, that's one reason. And plus they're competitive. The second group is, if you don't mind, G is, Gee Hill. And, it was our recommendation to go with L and M. And the reason is these are the two biggest projects and, we don't wanna exhaust the resources trying to, go to two different places and try to keep up. And if you notice, what North Road's, bid was for Johnson, it was significantly less than, L and M. So we feel like those two aren't too far off as far as Gee Hill goes, so we would make the recommendation that it would be L and M. And, I haven't had that same conversation, Ian, I don't know L and M well, but, I know they have a good reputation because I think they did a bunch of work in Woodstock and, Norwich during a, correct me if I'm wrong at any time.
Yeah, no, and they do, so they did all the emergency repairs, like where Route 132 was just closed for Stratford. You could probably get a reference from Stratford also, or Norwich. And then they pretty much do they're preeminent contractor on different Dartmouth College projects, and did the whole new North Tower for Dartmouth Hospital. And they've done V-Trans projects before, including the Exit 3 parking ride. All the guys that were actually in the machines doing the work, even though that was when I was there managing that job, all the same guys are there that are fully capable and in good positions to be successful.
So this is gonna come up, Ian, if you don't mind. How big is that company? Is it like 10 or 20 or 12 or 8?
There are 42 employees I think they've currently got on the roster.
Okay, thank you. And,
But like everybody else, they know how to sub and trade.
and, one thing is we're all competing for the same gravel pits and we're all
Yes,
competing for the same precast head walls and, so if we go to group J, if you don't mind me starting in the middle and going to, which is, Ducker Road. I think Isaac's excavation is self-explanatory. So I don't wanna talk poorly of anybody, but
Yes.
it wasn't as competitive. L&M and Green Mountain were very close. It's our recommendation to go with Green Mountain. I think, I know Green Mountain well. I think that he is capable, competent, and he's very conscious of, he's small and keeping the work in front of him instead of being all around him. So, that would be.
I mean, that's spreading around between contractors.
And, we're hoping for more contractors in the next round because, if not, it's gonna get tight.
Yeah.
Time goes.
Can I ask, is it legal to talk about the next round before we award them, or should we try and keep that separate? Because the bids.
I
are
would say,
so-
why don't we get through the discussion of these bids? I mean, and then, but yeah, to follow up with Tim, yes, there are a handful of other contractors that we're gonna include in the solicitation on the next round.
All I can tell you is a little bit of scuttlebutt I hear is that, for small contractors, local contractors, this bid process is a little intimidating.
Yes,
And I've been on that end of things and, have found things to be that way as well.
good point. But we were kind of, can I do an overlay?
Yeah.
We're kind of driven into this. I mean, this optimizes our chances because we've done so well. And I really say that sincerely. Tim and his team have done so well on the mechanics end and Victoria on the administration to try and get this maximally reimbursable. Because when we get through this, we're gonna, these numbers add, and you add that to Broadbrook and you add it to the next group, we're in a big number likely. And we need to.
Yeah.
To the extent we legally can, we need to recoup those resources. It's okay. Sorry.
This is where I'm probably gonna lean on Ian a little bit more, but, if I can go back to Group A, in all honesty, I wasn't aware how big L&M was until I just heard that number of people, so that was reassuring. I'm sure they're bidding on a lot of other, but, we didn't get multiple bids on, Broadbrook, Ricks and Back River to my knowledge, so, I don't know what people's comments or thoughts are about that, but, I think our generator should kick in immediately.
No, I think it's just, we're not moving there.
I was wondering.
This is sort of a dull meeting. We're moving around a little bit more, throwing chairs. across.
Somebody has to do jumping jacks.
Back River Road. I have a check mark for L&M contractors, so L&M service contractors.
Do we have to take them? Can we bid it again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why not, I wouldn't recommend it.
Do you feel like when you look at the other projects and look at because some of L&M's numbers have been competitive, some have just kind of been like.
That's a good point. A lot of. Listen, I drive Happy Hollow all the time. I think some of these jobs are pretty small.
Yeah.
And like, when you see mobilization being 10% of a project, it's kind of, to me, it's a little bit telling, but anyways.
No, that's my point, like Group C, L&M is what, $80,000 more? So,
Right.
That's what I'm just wondering is. Does it feel competitive for
And I
them?
think that is an outlier, that is where L&M is more, but in general, they're right in the range.
You
And
felt like that.
Right.
I think, if you, the advantage that I think that North Road has in Group C is they know exactly, I mean, they live it, they know it. And since that's their backyard, they may have a stronger local knowledge. And the other thing on
Okay,
Broad
that's
Brook,
fair.
there's a couple of other areas that are not 82 feet, but have collapsed into the river. And they're not gonna be easy, and they're gonna be expensive. I mean, they're gonna involve A&R, and they're gonna involve setting the toe, and they're gonna involve all those
Okay,
things that
okay.
we have in there. So that Broad Brook there is not gonna be simple just because there are four. Ian, how many other places? 3 or 4 other places that have subsided?
Well, it's two substantial spots have subsided, and then it's just the third part of the Broad Brook work in this contract is the extension of the culvert at the bottom of Placid Road that's all collapsed. That's not
Okay,
that's and I don't even know honestly. Now I just said that all out loud. I can't even remember if honestly I think that's already been handled or not. But at any rate, just to give a loose blanket, my 2 cents on it is that is a good discussion that, do we want to bid that again? I mean, those places on those roads, I mean, those aren't showstoppers. I mean, the Ricks Road stuff though, there's some spots there that we really ought to get buttoned up sooner than later, that if we rebid that group, I think we'd be remiss for, then not being in a good window to get that construction done, and then looking more into November weather, and then people are going to put a little acceleration, fluff in their numbers. But beyond that, just two points is that one, yes, we advertised accordingly. The solicitations went out, so it is we did the legal process. So if FEMA were to ask us, like, why did we recommend going forward when we only had one bidder on that group, we can say that we advertised it, we solicited it, we asked for prices. It's just, this is the only number we got. It's not like where we have to get the 3 numbers and then pick the best number. And then the only other point is that, yeah, I think it was Chris that was saying that hit the nail on the head that, Dylan was being really aggressive to make sure. I mean, Johnson Hill was the one he really wanted. And that's why he gave that much of an aggressive number in it, not knowing. And my general comment on everything, I was actually really happy to see how close all these bids were. There wasn't huge disparity. That everybody that did bid understood what they were bidding on, and we didn't have gross 50% differences. Yeah, there's almost a 30% difference on Johnson Hill, but I think that's just because of how aggressive that Dylan was being to make sure he got Johnson Hill.
Yeah, I
Okay.
want to
Yeah.
agree, because if you go to Group B and you look at North Road and L&M, one is $3,500 in one person's favor, and one is like another 3,500 in the other, 3,700 in the other person's favor. So I think that they're pretty, I think they understood.
but
And they've seen these numbers.
Can we just reflect in the minutes that we had some discussion?
Yeah,
Because it was
no,
just a little bit, so.
and it's still always a good discussion when you only get one bid, do you want to take that? And just looking at the, in general, Mike, when I saw that same thing, I looked at the bid behavior for all of them, and that company, L&M, bid everything. I mean, so, and their numbers were sometimes a little above, sometimes a little below, but most of the time they're in that tight deviation on what, and they're probably, of our bidders, they have the greatest capacity. They have the biggest depth. So,
I want to add one other thing is some of these contractors are going to bid on the next one, and they're thinking ahead on how to group what.
good point. I hadn't thought about that.
They, that was the conversation I had with them.
Good point.
Is this gonna fix the thing on Broadbrook we looked at?
No, this is not. The thing on Broad Brook is totally
It's
different.
totally
That's an
separate.
And
isolated,
the Broadbrook work is on the other side of the break.
yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
So
This Broad Brook work,
Yes, on the far side.
And so they have to mobilize all the way around.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's 11 extra miles to get there,
Yeah,
you
that's.
know,
so
and they're
much
not-
money.
comfortable miles.
No, they're not.
So do we wanna go to group B?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So, I'm. Here's my thought, Group B is very, very competitive. Put them together, it's probably within, a couple $1,000, but, I really wanna, I wanna deploy well. More than anything. So I would like to, I'm all for, and none of these, like, I could throw a dart at one of these and be fine with it, so. If we bundled, I hate to say it, but Mill Road and, I don't know. I'm fine with any of these numbers, I just wanna make sure that we're not stretching one company too thin.
So you'd like to do the North Road, even though it's a bit more? Is that what you're saying? Cause Element's got 3 out of the 5 so far, right?
You know,
I think
Yeah,
that, they went after Johnson Hill and I think they got it. And, I'm happy for it. My conversation was, we pay taxes in this town too, so. And they understood the chain of command, they understood the material and everything else we were.
how big are they?
How big is
Yeah.
North Road?
No,
I was-
no, yeah, North Road.
They're, I'm gonna say. 4 to 5 equipment operators and they're subbing out all their trucking, so.
Hmm.
I wanna be careful that we don't. Cause I have a feeling that we're gonna see these same people in the next round.
Yeah.
So,
And I think what you're saying, and we, in the military, so we're keeping some of our powder dry because we know we're gonna need, we're gonna see these names again and who may be going where. Trying to arrange for good groupings that,
yeah,
as you said, mobilization, they don't have to go here, then way over here, then way over there, trying to keep their transportation costs down as well. So anyway.
and the next group is pretty small compared to a lot of, others, so. So, like. I don't know if anybody has any strong opinions, Ian, do you have a sense of? These are so close, I can't see how FEMA or anybody else can argue with a couple $1,000. 84,
Which group are we talking? Which one? The
I'm
letter?
sorry, Group B.
Group B,
So
okay.
the recommendation was L&M, correct? For
For
group B?
both,
For Group
For
B,
group B, the recommendation was L&M,
No, well,
No.
he hasn't said that. yet.
I haven't said that, but
and they were the low bid for that group, if
Yeah,
I'm remembering correctly?
Yeah.
Yes.
but Element, L and M has Group G
Yes,
right, they have a bigger
and
force.
Group B and Group A.
yes.
So that,
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Based on that alone and that they have more people.
They have some more people working. Yeah.
I'm good with it. This is, these are kind of really, really close. So I'm.
Can I just add in a comment?
Yeah,
From what the group that talked about the other day was that our approach would be, if we do recommend L&M, that we would specifically dictate to them their critical path. And
Right.
that, there would be certain things that we want to see done immediately on Happy Hollow and Mill Road if they were to get Group B, as long as they would be okay with, getting some immediate triage stuff done that we haven't done. Make sure that the immediate triage stuff that's on Rick's Road gets done that we haven't done yet. And then be able to move on to the bigger slopes, either on Rick's Road and or Broad Brook Road, or, give them their orders kind of in that manner. And then the stuff that's on Bridge Street, that's little, that's something, if they know it's in their back pocket, they'll probably send a different crew to just come up and clean that up and pave it in a day so that even though there's that little bit of that's technically Bridge Street, that Group B stuff really becomes small, separate from the immediate triage. There are a couple of culverts, I think, we were calling for here and there, but otherwise, we all discussed and felt comfortable that, we think that we could work with them and dictate that that's the way that we would like them to approach the work.
So, Mr. Chair, can I ask if we can table this discussion, and can I ask if we can go into executive session to discuss the contract issue?
Motion made. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any
So
further
can-
discussion?